welcome to the fantasy recap for League Buckets. We're your hosts here.
I am not egg.
And I am Bacon. So bacon and not eggs. Ben is dairy free. So
Yeah, and egg free.
Dairy free,
Don't
egg
forget
free. So
Yep.
bacon and not eggs. We're gonna recap. Probably won't do this every week, but at least a couple times throughout the year and recap some things and preview the next week. Hopefully get to know a few people a little bit better. And since we're all from all over the place in this league, trying to make us a little bit tighter knit group. So Ben, you want to kick us off with the recap from week 1 with some of the scores and the different matchups? Who won, who lost?
Sure. Week 1, we'll start out with probably the greatest team in the league, my team. I took down Graves, 129 to 63. And probably the second worst team in the league is Garrett's team.
Who got a victory last week?
He won last week, though. He beat his brother-in-law, his BIL, by a score of 116 to 110.
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten with a nail-biter catch at the end there that kind of sealed the game for Garrett.
Sure did.
Another matchup, another nail-biting matchup. I don't know how this one ended. I guess I didn't really dive too deep into the box score to see if it did come down to Monday night.
It did.
But it was between the Whale and Dad Bod. And for those of you that don't know who that is John Bush. And Dad Bod is Brad Kimball, who is actually scheduled to get married this weekend. So congrats.
See you this weekend, Brad.
Yep. So we'll have a lot of fun. Don't forget to set your lineup, because Garrett doesn't feel bad if you don't set your lineup, even if it is on your wedding weekend. So make sure it's set, Brad.
And just to recap that matchup real quick, John probably thought he was in really good shape going into Monday night, but then on Monday night, Brett Kimball got Manuel Sanders only got him 5, which wasn't that key, but then he got 18, almost 19 from Melvin Gordon, and he got 27 from Stephon Diggs.
Oh, boy.
So, sorry, John.
Sorry, John.
Lose by 2 and big Monday night for Brad.
Yeah.
All right, and last couple matchups.
Casey went up against Sammy from Miami Stats.
Former league champion last year.
Yep, reigning league champ, Ad Thielen. Casey took Sam down 117 to 78. A couple of new members in our league. Almodovar, or as Garrett calls him, Elmo. He took down another newcomer in our league, Nick.
Nick is John's friend from St. Louis. Almodovar, some of you probably know if you went to Park. He is a Park grad, 2 years older than us.
He took down Nick 100 to 85. On the last matchup is a returning member from last year. We've never met the guy, but maybe we will one day. It's Jason.
Another one of John's friends from St. Louis.
And one of the carryovers from the Jeff Klein era.
Yeah.
Brian Paulson. Unfortunately, Brian got destroyed last week. A final score of 146 to 62. For those of you keeping score at home, that's a little bit over. What's that? About an 80-point loss there.
Give or take.
So I think if you would have started some of the players on your bench, you might have won last week. You had quite a few points. You had quite a few points on his bench. It would have made it a little more interesting. Not as lopsided.
More interesting for sure.
Definitely would have probably helped him in the standings, because it's based on points for.
Yeah.
So kind of an uphill battle for Brian.
So that recaps week 1 scores. Recap week 1 injuries. Sadly, first injury was to my team. David Johnson, first overall pick, who was having a decent game and then went down with the wrist injury, and they don't even know how long he's out for, but it's going to be a while. But we know that it's not as long as Allen Robinson, who tore his ACL after not doing hardly anything. That was one of John's players, so he loses by 2 and only got not even a quarter's worth out of Allen Robinson.
Yeah, bet you're happy
Tough
about
break.
that, huh?
Tough break, John, again, sorry. And then a couple of lesser names. Well, Danny Woodhead is still could have been a big piece. Big piece on somebody's team, but he's out for a couple weeks, only maybe a couple months. And Kevin White is out for this season. Another, I think people, once Meredith went down, they thought White might be big, but he went down as well. So
yeah, shout out to Eric Peters for picking up Cohen. He was also on my radar, but somehow you were probably, some deal under the table with the commissioner here that he put you up higher on the waiver wire, so you got him first. So.
Actually, he had Cohen, I think, before.
Oh, did he?
I think he had him on his roster before last week's games.
Oh.
He has Jeremy, or he has
check the transaction history. I think
he has Jordan Howard. So I think Jeremy Langford is no longer there. So I think you
was handcuffing
with a
himself.
handcuff.
Yeah, with an unknown rookie. Nice.
Good call, but you still lost last week. So
yeah,
sorry,
so you still suck.
Yeah.
Fantasy flop of the week. We kind of covered it. Brian Paulson, where his bench scored more points than his actual roster. So congratulations, Brian. You get week 1 flop of the week.
And also, it goes as the flop because you had the highest draft grade after our draft, according to Yahoo. So they were expecting big things. Doesn't mean the rest of the season you can't. I still think you have a solid squad, but week 1 was not your week. So that recaps week 1. I'll preview week 2.
We did a little league pick'em between me and Garrett, and then we also picked who we predict or who we think is going to be key to that victory that's going to be leading the team based on the matchups for that week. So for the first one, obviously, since me and Garrett are the hosts of the show, our first matchups are coming up first. So week 2 is me against Whale. Both Garrett and myself picked me to win, clearly because I'm the best team in the league. So
that's not my thinking. My thinking was strictly because John is still recovering from Allen Robinson's injury.
Oh,
so and Jarvis Landry, I'm still not high on him this year, but we'll see. You still got Antonio Brown in there, who's always a monster.
Yeah.
But we picked Ben. Ben thinks his team is going to win because
I think Beast Mode is going to go off against the Jets,
and I think that Jordy Nelson is going to have another solid week shootout against the Falcons. I think Jordy's going to do well there. So sorry, John, but we're both on the same page picking Ben this week.
Next week is Garrett, the Battle of the Garretts.
Battle of the Garretts.
Battle of the Garretts. May the best Garrett win. I picked Garrett Pocolo to win. To much surprise, Garrett did not pick himself to win.
I did not. I deferred to Graves. My team losing David Johnson is quite a hit, especially because running back was not a very strong position for me after the draft since I had the best one in my eyes. I didn't think I needed a bunch of great backups, but so I went with Graves, and part of the reason I went with Graves is because of David Johnson on my team, but part of the reason I think he's going to do well. What do we say? Oh, I said Russell Wilson. I think is going to bounce back. Tough week against the Packers last week, playing at home against the 49ers. So I think he's going to have a really big week.
And I think Matty Ice is going to absolutely turn that Packers defense into shredded cheese again, like he did last year. New building, same result though as the NFC Championship game last year. So that's what I think. Matty Ice is going to carry Garrett to victory. It'll be a bittersweet game for Garrett because he'll be sad because the Packers will lose, but he'll be happy because Matt Ryan will put up monster numbers.
We'll see about that. I still think the Packers can win anyway. Next matchup is Jason Almodovar. Sorry, Elmo, not Jason. So from now on, Almodovar will be known as Elmo versus Sammy Tats. Both of us went with the Revolution, a.k.a. Elmo. I think the projections have Elmo winning by quite a bit for the projection, which is 12, but I think it'll be close. But I think Elmo will win because of Larry Fitzgerald. I think without David Johnson, I think he's going to PPR. He's going to get a ton of catches even get a touchdown in there. He'll be a red zone threat. But I think they're going to move the ball through the air more, and I think Larry Fitz is going to have a big week.
And I said the homecoming for Brandon Cooks. We all saw how good Adam Thielen was last week against that Saints secondary, and I love Adam Thielen, but I don't think he's as good as he showed, unless he's in fantasy championship games against Garrett Butler.
Yeah.
Then he does that stuff. So, but yeah, Brandon Cooks monster week. That's what I'm predicting. The next matchup is Brian Paulson against one of the newcomer Nick. Maybe that's what we'll start calling him. Newcomer Nick. We both picked Brian to win, even though he is coming off the flop of the week for week 1.
Yeah. I still like his squad even after a tough first week. Part of the reason I think he's going to win is because of Kirk Cousins. Going to have a rough first week again, but I think he'll have a bounce back week against the Rams.
And I said Amari Cooper against the Jets. The Jets are bad.
They are not good.
I don't even think their defense is that great. I think they're going to be a solid play anytime you have a fantasy player playing them this year. They should put up maybe not monster numbers every time, but numbers that should help your team. They're probably going to help more than hurt. I'll say that.
Okay, next matchup. We split on this one. We did not agree. And one of the other two we did not agree is Brad Kimball. I gave Brad Bod versus my cousin Casey. Team named Forte Inch Ditka.
Does he even have Forte on his team?
No, so he should probably.
Yeah.
Or actually, he does have Forte on his team.
All right.
Yeah.
He can get away with it again.
I think that I picked Casey to win. Ben picked
Brad Bod.
Brad Bod. I think Casey's going to win because Tom Brady was not Tom Brady last week. And he is, again, playing the Saints, who got torched by Sam Bradford, who was a decent quarterback, but is not Tom Brady. I think it's going to be, that could be a rematch or a replay of how the Saints-Giants game went a couple years ago, where Eli and Breeze combined for like 11, 12 touchdowns, something. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. But Ben,
I went with Emmanuel Sanders going up against the Cowboys secondary. I mean, they shut down Brandon Marshall last week, but they didn't have Odell. And I really don't think the Cowboys D. I think the Cowboys D is a middle of the road defense. I mean, they might be able to shut down one of the two, and they'll probably be focused more on shutting down Demaryius Thomas, which gives Emmanuel Sanders an opportunity to have a big week this week. So that's who I'm predicting. That's who's going to carry Brad's team to victory.
that'll be another close one, I think. And last one is Jason, high scorer from last week, versus Eric Peters. We agreed on this one. Sorry, Peters, that I think Jason is gonna win this week. He's got some favorable matchups. Peters not so favorable. So why do you think Jason's gonna win?
I think Kareem Hunt is going to continue his tear. Probably not a 46-point or 50-point week like he had last week, but he'll still. I think he'll be a top 5 fantasy player for sure if he can stay healthy. Just the way that the Chiefs run their offense, he's going to be a big focal point. So I think he's a pretty solid start every week. So
I think Mike Evans, after their early week 1 bye, I think Mike Evans is going to come out hungry, and I think he's going to have a huge week against the Bears, and the Bears shouldn't really scare anybody this year. So I think Mike Evans will have a big week, and then also Peters was starting Jordan Howard and Bilal Powell, both kind of in handcuff situations that people weren't sure that they would be in. Maybe they won't be after this week. Maybe they'll take over, but as of right now, kind of question marks. So we both went with Jason. So that recaps the week 2 matchups. You guys can think what you want. Feel free to post on the message board who you think is going to win each matchup. Get this league, get a little Ben would call it banter going on the league. Everybody likes to